Hey guys, Andrew McComb here from Outlier TV. In this week's episode, we're in the beautiful Sacred Islands in Fiji. And I'm going to be interviewing Joe Donne. He's the co-founder of Big Blue Fiji, one of Fiji's only livable dive charter yachts. Okay, let's go and meet Joe. Joe, welcome to Outlier.
Thanks, mate.
We're in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, the beautiful Sacred Islands, just off the mainland of Fiji, the birthplace of Fiji, in fact. And we've just spent the night on your beautiful, livable dive charter yacht. It hasn't always been like that, though, has it? We're having an amazing business that gets to afford you to be around this beautiful aqua environment. Where did it all start?
It started with a dream a long time ago. Around about 15 years ago, we wanted to design, build and create our own kind of luxury liveaboard charter that did a little bit of everything. From seeing a lot of different charters all around the world and working on different boats and different dive operations, kind of combining all of the best bits of everything and creating this.
Have you always been into the sailing life, or were you a landlubber, or how did it begin?
Always lived right on the water since I was yay big. All of my family have always been involved in boats in some kind of way. Boat builders and shipwrights and riggers and boat captains and ship's pilots. So always been surrounded by the ocean and some kind of free diving, spearfishing, fishing, scuba diving. So yeah, my whole life been surrounded by it.
So where were you born?
I was born in the southwest of England, in Devon, Plymouth. So a real coastal town around one of the biggest naval bases in the UK. So yeah, always just a couple of steps away from jumping in the water.
And when did you leave? And why did you leave?
I left when I was about 18 years old, left to go away just to do kind of a gap year and go for a travel around Australia. Ended up in the Whitsunday Islands, stayed there for a couple of years, ended up becoming a dive instructor there. And that's where the dream began, really, with hanging out on all of the beautiful sailing boats, all of the maxi fleet, and working on all the liveaboards there and doing a lot of diving out of the Whitsundays. So I mean, at 18 years old, leaving the southwest of England and going and living in the Whitsundays was pretty spectacular, and that's where the love began. Exactly, yeah, a lot warmer there.
So the intention initially was yachting, sailing, but it then soon migrated to diving, or was it a combination, or what happened from, say, the Whitsundays?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, why choose? Like, there's no reason why you have to do one or the other. Why not do everything? So always loved the sailing, formed the love of scuba diving and free diving and snorkeling. How can you not when you're in the tropics and you've got that myriad of spectacular colours and coral and reef life and big stuff, mantas, sharks, dolphins, whales. It's pretty hard to miss out on all of that stuff, and I mean, you're surrounded by it all day, so why not jump in? And
so Whitsundays to where did you?
The Whitsundays then moved over to Thailand for a little bit, right, around the east coast of Thailand, around Koh Tao and Koh Samui, the normal track for most dive instructors. Yeah. Hung around there for a little while, and then moved over to worked around the Mediterranean and Caribbean on some super yachts.
Super yachts?
Yeah.
You have some pretty interesting stories.
Yeah, it was good fun. It was good fun. Not many for the camera, but there was lots of good stories along the way, yeah.
So just tell us about the super yacht lifestyle. How does that work?
It was good. It was great fun. We had a great crew. It was good exploration. We got to travel a lot and got to see a lot of new places, and it was good times and lots of toys and stuff to play on. So yeah, it was fun. It was a great way to see the world.
Were you looking after clients or just owners of boats? And
we were on a privately owned vessel, so we just looked after the owners whenever they come to town and some of their friends. So yeah, we weren't taking charters at that time. Yeah, it was good fun. Good fun.
And then you were back in Fiji. So how did you get to Fiji?
Fiji was pretty random for me. I was just on a round the world trip and stumbled across Fiji. one of my old bosses from Early Beach actually had some work here, so ended up a 2-week trip turned into a 6-month trip, and now it's turned into a 12-year trip. But yeah, one of my favourite places in the world. Yeah, spectacular.
So when you first came, where did you start?
I was working around the Manta Group of Islands, some small islands, South Sea Island, Bounty Island, Mystery Island, lots of different places, and then moved up to the Yasawa Group of Islands at Manta Ray Island. Spectacular, amazing diving, snorkeling, manta rays for 6 months of the year.
And you were the main dive instructor up there?
Yeah, I was the dive manager of the resort for around about 10 years in the end.
Yeah. And so diving with manta rays in its own right is an outlier experience, isn't it? Because I believe you can only do that in a couple of places around the world. Is that right, from a resort perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. It's spectacular. There's a few different places in Fiji where we get the mantas. Spectacular. I mean, what do you say about manta rays? They're majestic giants, up to 7 meters across the wings, cruising along. Swimming with a manta ray is a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Yeah. And
you then migrated to, like, you did a lot of scuba.
Yeah.
But you now moved to free diving, is that?
Yeah, not necessarily moved, kind of. I've always had a love for both. Growing up in the southwest of England, the water's bitterly cold through winter, but we have great spearfishing and everything like that. So we used to love going out on weekends and trying to get a feed for the weekend, grab a few things to chuck on the barbie on the beach. There's nothing better than that.
Yeah. And so you're 12 years at Manta Ray. Obviously the idea you've always had from a young fella was starting to percolate and bubble up. What made you take the jump?
We were just waiting for the right time to actually start the business. We're saving a little bit of cash, because obviously it's not a cheap venture to start. Got to the point where I thought that it was feasible for us to put an offer in on a boat, not expecting for the owner to accept the offer, and he did, and kind of a baptism of fire at that point. We were locked in at that stage, and not unprepared, because there was so much time to actually plan what we were going to do. But the scary part was just getting people to the boat. Yes, that was the scary part at the beginning.
As in, so just take us back. So you got the offer was approved?
Yeah.
And it wasn't a Fiji-based boat, was it?
No, it wasn't. The boat was actually based in Indonesia. It was privately owned. So I flew to Indonesia to take a look, and everything was great. So the offer was accepted, and the ball started rolling pretty quickly at that point, quicker than expected. So we had to get the boat from Indonesia down to Fiji. It was a rough time of year. It was coming towards cyclone season, so we tried to get the boat here reasonably quickly, but things transpired and we had a few problems along the way and hit some bad weather, so it took a little bit longer than expected, but it was, I suppose you would call it an adventure.
So tell us about that. What was happening?
I couldn't leave at the time because I was actually working at Manta Ray still, so I asked my dad to come over from England with a friend of his. He came over to Indonesia and picked up the boat. At the time, we didn't realize when, and the broker never told us at the time, that when the boat was signed over, we actually needed to leave the country pretty quickly, just to do with the sale of the boat. So my father left at gunpoint at that point from Indonesia and left straight to Darwin, where he got arrested again in Darwin because it's a pretty dodgy area to travel from Indonesia to Darwin, yeah. Obviously with a lot of the immigration problems and everything. So the second time he got arrested in the second country after leaving. Then he was obviously released because there was no problem. And then they moved up to Thursday Island, stayed at Thursday Island, went through the Torres Straits up around the top of Australia and across to PNG. And then from PNG to the Solomon Islands. My father then had to go home before my mother killed him and I. And we jumped on the boat, a friend of mine and myself, in the Solomon Islands, and then brought it down from the Solomons, Vanuatu, and then to Fiji.
Yeah.
which was good fun along the way. Lots of good fishing, lots of good fish.
How many Ks is it, or how many nautical miles?
It's around about 5,000 nautical miles.
And how long did it take?
It took us 4 months in the end, because we were going into the wind a lot, and yeah, we hit some pretty rough weather.
You get seasick?
No, never get seasick, but luckily, fortunately, because it got pretty rough at some points.
So what would be some of the biggest waves that you're experiencing out there?
Out there we were taking around about a 5-6 metre swell at some points. Around about, we got into around about 55-60 knots of wind. So yeah, it was pretty rough. One of the best experiences. We've seen some of the big 5-6 metre rolling swell going past, and they were above the level of the flybridge on top of the boat, of the top deck of the wheelhouse, and we were looking up at like 50-60 kilo yellowfin tuna going through waves above us. It was pretty spectacular.
And so a massive journey to get the boat here. Once it's here in Fiji, what happens from there?
Once we got here, there was a lot of paperwork, obviously. That all got sorted reasonably quickly, and then off we go, out of the ground, designing and building custom-built charters, everything we dreamt of doing, which is the most exciting part, building a charter for someone specifically to their needs, whether it's scuba diving, surfing some of the best waves in the world, whatever they want to do. If they want to hike up to the top of mountains, if they want to do paddleboard yoga, if they want to do wakeboarding, water skiing, biscuit riding, they want to catch a marlin, a yellowfin tuna, anything, spearfish some dogtooth tuna, ticking bucket list things off of their list. It's a spectacular spot in the world that you can pretty much do any of that. Yeah.
So if it's anything water, you can do it?
Absolutely. Yep. Fiji is so diverse. Down south we have some of the best waves in the world. Up around Taveuni, some of the best soft coral and scuba diving in the world. Then around Namena, some of the best big stuff in the world, hammerheads and dolphins and whales and sharks. And then around this side, bull and tiger shark feeds. You've got everything, everything through Fiji.
And so the boat's out here, you live on the boat the entire time, or you can do day charters, or?
Yeah, we do anything from a day charter or a sunset cruise or a wedding party to however long you want to go. We can go on an exploration for a month to some of the furthest reaches of Fiji that are completely untouched and completely undiscovered. As you can see right now, we're in a spot where we're the only people here. There's no one within 20 miles of us right now.
No. How do you go in such close quarters with people? Because obviously they're your clients, you've got to have a separation, but over time you're pretty on top of each other, aren't you?
Yeah, it's great. It's like a little family. I mean, you wake up together, you have fun all day. They're pretty busy days. I mean, you can do as much or as little as you like. If you want to just sit on the bow or on your own private little beach and read a book all day, absolutely. If you want to be go, 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 you want to swim with manta rays, get out, go for a scuba dive with sharks, go back, come back, go for a surf, come back, go for a hike. You can do as much or as little as you like, but hanging out with the guests is awesome. At the end of the day, have a nice little debrief and a nice cold Fiji Gold, and yeah,
or a few.
Get ready, exactly, or a few, and get ready for the next day.
And the best feedback you ever received from the clients?
The feedback's always been good from the clients. They're not really clients. We don't really have like clients. They're mates. By the end of the charter, they're mates. We've already planned our next 3 or 4 holidays going and hanging out with our previous charter guests. Because by the time people leave, they're best of mates. You've spent a lot of time together and done some pretty cool stuff together. Memories that last a lifetime, you know. So, yeah, everyone leaves as friends.
Wow, sensational. So I guess the benefit I see in it too is you're literally, it's a floating hotel really, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's got everything that a hotel has, but you're mobile, which is pretty rare.
Absolutely. You get the rare opportunity to see lots of different places and only unpack your bag once. So it's perfect.
Yeah, well, it beats, because in a hotel you've got to go out every time, whereas you're going with the boat, and then on the boat you've got infinite amount of activities to do at the same time.
Absolutely, and the journey between places is absolutely part of the trip, you know, hanging out with dolphins, whales, going for a fish. So the journey is actually a big part of what we do as well.
Yeah. So if we look at the journey you've experienced from, say, being a young fella at 18, first trip to Australia, knowing you wanted to get into the sailing industry, to now, and we want to try and help the other potential outliers and entrepreneurs out there. What's sort of the main issues, I guess, or struggles you had initially in that process? Like, were you always clear that you were going to be in the yachting space, or?
Yeah, I think just surround yourself by good people and good mates. Like this was not just my baby. It was 3 friends. So myself, my girlfriend, and one of my best mates. So it was all born from an idea that I thought of a long time ago, but putting that into practice and into play came from the work of all 3 of us. It was a whole lot of work and a whole lot of stress at the start, but doing it with mates, it can test friendships to the limit, obviously, but once it's all out of the ground and you're away, it's spectacular and you all get to live the life together. So yeah, it's awesome. Couldn't have done it without them, absolutely. Obviously wanted to kill them at the start. I'm sure they wanted to kill me. I would guarantee they wanted to kill me. But once we got to the point where it's floating, literally, yeah, it's been a great adventure.
Just on that, what are sort of the issues you experienced with mates trying to start out as a business?
Just the stresses of setting up a business. It would happen anywhere in the world, just the general day-to-day stresses of long hours and a lot of stress, obviously, coming from financial difficulties and paperwork and the daily grind of just trying to set up and get out of the ground so you can start enjoying it.
Yeah. And how did you deal with it?
Having a beer. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, just forget about work, put it all down, go down to the local pub, have a couple of jars and watch the sun go down, and yeah, figure out that it's not that bad. Yeah.
Did it turn to appreciation more than stress when you're in that scenario, or did you actually talk about things? Or
we did talk about things, and as I say, like we wanted to kill each other at certain moments, but yeah, we got through it. We got through it, and now we're just cruising along and really enjoying it again now. I mean, what's better? I mean, you set out here and you dreamt of it for 15 years, and now you get to design, plan, and execute some spectacular trips and give people the time of their life. You know, the job satisfaction is amazing when people step foot on the boat. You take them for their first dive. You swim with manta rays, you catch them their first fish, their last fish, their 500th fish, it doesn't matter, they're in a spectacular spot. You crack open an icy cold beer at the end of the day, it's just a great spot. The satisfaction guaranteed.
Well, it makes it all worth it, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
I even last night when we were watching the stars and we had the beautiful bonfire and the yachts in the background, you just can't get much better. And obviously where we are, you know, we're in the middle of the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah. And
we're having the time of our life, aren't we?
Absolutely. Yeah, the spots don't get much better than this. Fiji's the perfect cruising place. There's nearly an island for every day of the year. White sandy beaches and crystal clear water and beautiful coral reefs. Doesn't get much better than that.
Well, it's interesting too, because you're very unique in the fact that you're only a couple of actual livable dive charters in Fiji, whereas you'd think it's the perfect environment for it.
Absolutely. There are a couple of larger charter boats in Fiji that cruise out through the islands, but as a small niche dive operation, absolutely. We're one of the only ones in the entire country. We can take a small family on board. Not only can you dive, you can also get certified on board. So you can do open water courses, advanced courses, rescue courses. We look after you. You get your own dive instructor for your whole trip. Nice private dives, no one else in your group. It's a great way to personalise the service and personalise the experience, which is, I mean, more and more what people want to do these days.
So speaking of lifetime, we look back at the start of your journey, and originally you started working for others, now you're working for yourself. Would you recommend that's a good way for people, if they do have a vision, to, I guess, essentially get paid to learn first before just, like, if you were to have started Big Blue Fiji at the start versus having gone through what you know to get here now,
yep,
what would the difference have been?
The difference would have been massive. I mean, you have to, for the company that we've designed and built now, there had to be a massive length of experience, and obviously good and bad experiences. You have to go through the good and the bad to realise what you want to create. So that just takes a while, and you learn from that, and you continually learn from it. I mean, you learn every day from every situation, especially being on the ocean and around different weather conditions and tides and currents. And so yeah, it's been a constant learning curve. I wouldn't change a thing. I think the timing for us was perfect. Everyone brought something different to the plate, from myself and my girlfriend and my best mate. So we all brought a different kind of field of an area of operation to the business. So it was the perfect cocktail. And yeah, Big Blue Fiji is the finished product of that cocktail.
And just talking of roles, like how do you allocate roles when there's you know, more than one person in an organisation?
I normally leave that to the missus, to be fair, to keep me out of trouble. But no, everybody has their individual role. I mean, we all multitask. It's always good, I believe, when you're setting up a business or a company, to everyone to have the knowledge of everything. So it's good for everyone to have the knowledge of the accountancy and from the numbers to the figures and everything throughout every level of the business, whether it's marine authorities and safety certificates and insurances and everything from bottom to top.
Yeah. And then at that point, once everyone has a general or a broad knowledge, do you then separate into, are you like the dive instructor, Laura might be the chef, or how does it work from there?
Yeah, we all take on roles, and we all joke about it, because whenever someone tries to get involved in something else, everyone says it's not my department, is the famous thing with us at the moment. But yeah, it's more of just a joke and a game, really. We all get involved in everything. We all try and help where we can, because it can be stressful. Initial setup is absolutely the most stressful part. As soon as you start to recover and start to get all of your operational stuff in place, and you get a structure, a lot of pressure is alleviated at that point, and it starts to become a lot more fun. Yeah.
And then everyone starts flowing a bit more because they've got their own jobs to do? Yeah,
I mean, it'd be like any business setup. As soon as you start to have procedures in place and you start to have a structure to what you're doing, everything becomes a lot easier.
Yeah.
And that just comes over time. That just comes over time and experience and ironing out a few creases, and away you go.
What would you say your biggest flow is?
Our biggest flow is just the three of us. The three of us, we all get along really well, and I think that reflects really well through our business. Our business is all about fun, enjoyment, travel, excitement. So we love it, and we'll guarantee that you're going to feed off of that and love it too. I mean, we love what we do. We wouldn't be doing it if we didn't. And we absolutely love giving people the experience of a lifetime. I mean, the job satisfaction from what we do is absolutely spectacular. We managed to do something at a young age where we absolutely love doing what we do from start to finish, from designing the trips to the day that they step on board, giving them a spectacular environment and a spectacular, safe trip, and the moment they step off, and they're mates forever.
How important would you say for the young outliers out there about to embark on an entrepreneurial journey is passion when it comes to business?
The passion has to be there, because you're going to go through a lot of hard times, and that's what's going to get you across the line. If you're not passionate about what you do, it's very easy to hang up your boots and move on and turn your back on it and move on to something else. You know, if you're not passionate and you don't have the drive to do what you want to do, then it's very hard through the hard times to get through.
Yeah. It's hard not to be passionate about this though, isn't it?
Absolutely. We're in a spectacular spot and doing spectacular activities and cruising through the islands, as you're going to see today on your dive.
Do you find it ever gets old hat and you get kind of used to it and a bit stale, or is it every day's different?
That's the beauty of what we do. We didn't want to create something that was generic, so we leave on a Monday, we come back on a Sunday, and this is our charter. So everything we do is completely custom built, whether you want to do a free diving course, a diving course, go spearfishing, diving, anything you want to do, surf some of the best waves in Fiji, we build a charter for you. and then we deliver that charter. So we go back and forth, everything from the drinks you want to drink to the food you want to eat. So we create the menus and everything, so every single charter is varied, whether it's a day trip or an overnight trip or 2.5 weeks through the farthest reaches of Fiji. So everything is completely tailor-made, and we did it that way so it would also give you the best possible experience you can have, and also it's very varied for us throughout, so it keeps your mind active and it keeps the juices flowing for every single charter.
Well, it'd be exciting, wouldn't it? Because every charter is going to be different for you guys as well. So
absolutely, yeah, it's so much fun in the planning stages, and it's exploration a lot of the time for us, going to different places and new little tiny hidden beaches and archipelagos, and yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. So if you look at the concept of sailing, where you're tacking, you're using a natural force called the wind, and you're tacking to get to a destination, it requires a fair bit of adaptability, doesn't it?
It does.
And obviously learning as you're going. So if you look at your journey from start to now, what's the biggest learnings that you've had along the way?
There's been lots of areas where we've had to adapt and learn. Mainly with the initial setup of the business. I mean, we were very new to a setup of a business, so it was very much a baptism of fire when we cruised into the paperwork structure and the mountain of hoops you have to jump through for the setup of the initial business. We always knew our product was there and exactly what we wanted to deliver.
How did you know that though? Was that a gut instinct thing, or you'd seen it somewhere else?
It's from just a lifetime of living and working in the tourism industry and listening to people on what they want and what they don't want and areas that could have been improved. So a lifetime of all of us living in the tourism industry and just learning and adapting different kind of aspects of what everybody wants, and delivering spectacular, custom-built, unique charters.
So when you look back at the 18-year-old Joe who's just embarking on a whole new adventure, knowing what you know now, what advice would you have for him?
I probably wouldn't give any advice at the moment, just because you kind of learn and adapt throughout your life to reach a point where you want to design and build something spectacular, right? So all of the experiences I had from the age of 18 until now, and for all of us, has brought us to this point. So I love my life, I love what we're doing, so I wouldn't change a thing at this point. I would just let it roll on, create those good times and good experiences, meet new people, and have a smile on your face, have fun and get through it, yeah.
Well, just for some of the guys out there who may be struggling, you know, business doesn't feel like it's flowing, or they don't even know what they want to do with their life, what would you say to them?
Just not put too much pressure on yourself. I mean, it's kind of like when you're at school, or when you leave school and your business, or your whatever they call them nowadays, your careers counsellor comes up. Nobody really tells you about the spectacular things in life, you know. Nobody tells you can own a boat and cruise around the islands doing scuba diving and spearfishing and fishing every day. It's lawyers, accountants and engineers, and I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. It's a spectacular career and it's awesome, but you can do whatever you like. You don't have to listen to anyone else. If you have a dream and a passion for something, then go for it. You know, it's better to be laid on your deathbed saying you gave it a crack than saying, I wish I did it, right?
Yeah. Well, you'd be missing out on this, wouldn't you?
Absolutely.
Could you see yourself as an accountant?
Not anymore, no. Well, for number one, I'm not very good with numbers, and number two, I don't do well in an office.
How important is fun when it comes to business and life and actually getting results?
I think it's everything for us in our walk of life here, but I think, you know, as long as you're having fun, you'll never work a day in your life, right? So for us, luckily our business is completely centered around having fun and having a smile on your face and enjoying yourself, and luckily we've built a business that we can do exactly that. So we have a lot of fun. Every single day we have a lot of fun. You'll never wipe the smile off my face, so hopefully our guests have the same attitude.
Do you feel you have to work hard to make money?
Not really. Like at the start, yes, absolutely. It's a grind. It's always going to be a grind at the start. You're going to have to get through the hard time. It's going to be rough at the start. You're going to have sleepless nights. You're going to have stressful days. It's going to happen. There's no way in the world you're ever going to set up a business, I don't think, that is going to materialize overnight and be stress-free with millions of dollars rolling into the bank. You have to do the hard yards and go through that stress. I know it doesn't look like it now, sat on this little beach in the middle of nowhere with the beautiful island in the background, but yeah, it's a lot of work at the start. Just hang in there, get through it, try and keep it together, and come out the other side hopefully smelling the roses.
Do you see a distinction or differentiation between people who aren't willing to go the extra yard to get to where they want to go versus, say, you guys or other successful entrepreneurs?
Not so much here, actually. A lot of my friends here have set up, small, risky sometimes businesses, but they followed their passion, they followed their dream and persevered, and they have spectacular, one-off, unbelievable businesses, and again, giving people the time of their life, So I think it's just, as long as you're passionate and you have a dream and you're willing to put the work in because it's your passion and your dream, then if you don't persevere and you don't make it through the other end, then at least you tried, at least you tried.
And how important are those group of friends or mentors or associates that are also doing business in your journey?
Yeah, they're everything. I mean, it's a very small community in Fiji. Everybody knows everybody, so everybody helps everybody out. It's a great little community of everyone, expat community. I mean, all of our local guys and everything are great. It's the happiest country in the world. It's everyone's happy, but genuinely happy. Everybody wants to get to know you. Everybody wants to give you the time of day. It's just a beautiful, happy community in Fiji. I love everybody here.
Yeah, and they share lots of advice with you and help you out where they can, and vice versa.
At the start, everybody was very giving and supportive, which is great because you need that sometimes when you're going through the hard times. So yeah, everybody was spectacular that surrounded us at the start and really pushed us to get where we are now.
And I know it's a cheesy analogy, but really we're not an island, are we? We do need others around us to help us out. Absolutely,
we really do. You really need the support of your friends and other businesses around you, because else you're all alone, and it can be a pretty difficult, dark place sometimes at the initial stages of setup. Yeah.
So you mentioned fun earlier. We're about to go and have a hell of a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
But before we do, what's one last piece of advice that you'd have for the viewers that would help them get to where they want to go?
I'd say just have a dream, follow that dream, and it might not happen today, it might not happen tomorrow, but down the track, just persevere and try and push through the other side and give it a crack. What have you got to lose, really? I mean, yeah, give it a go. If it doesn't work out, you gave it a crack.
Well, Joe, thanks for coming on the show. You're officially an outlier. Well done.
Thanks, mate.
Well, there it is, guys. I hope you enjoyed this inspiring outlier episode with Joe Donne. For more videos, resources and information, go to outlier.tv or connect with us on our social media pages below. I'm Andrew McComb, and here's to living the outlier life outside of the comfort zone. I'll see you soon.